Hello and welcome to this episode of Focus On. I'm Zanella Morrison. Australia has long-standing ties with many African countries, and while linkages with Africa continue to expand, particularly in goods, services and trade and import, aspects that stand out the most are the two-way investment approach and strong people-to-people relationships. Joining me to have a conversation is Curtin University's growing presence on the African continent. I've got with me today Vice Chancellor Professor Harlene Hayne, Deputy Vice Chancellor Global Professor Xiaoshen Zhang, and Associate Professor David Mickler, the Dean for Global Africa, and they're all from the Curtin University. And this is an incredible moment for us to talk this year, since you've just recently come back from a tour that you finished across Rwanda, Kenya, and South Africa, looking at the expansion of the work that Curtin University is doing. Give us a little bit more on what this has meant for the university.
Well, thank you very much. This has been a really wonderful trip, the second trip for our Vice-Chancellor to Africa, and it really just, I think, highlights Curtin University's long-standing commitment to the continent, building long-term partnerships for the benefit of students, of universities, but of our societies more broadly. We've had some fascinating discussions in Kenya, working with the Kenyan higher education sector. We've also had the Australia-Africa Universities Network Forum in Rwanda, first time that it was hosted there, with a focus on AI and higher education. And then we've been in South Africa this week for the Global Africa Forum at the University of Pretoria with the theme of global security. So across those different events, we've got a really deep sense of where the continent's priorities are. And some great discussions on how we as a university can contribute to addressing some of the challenges.
Thank you, David. Harlene, I think what's interesting is you're dealing with three very different markets, Rwanda, Kenya, and South Africa. We'll talk later around the differences, but what is the unifying interest in Curtin University coming in and doing the work for these three countries?
Well, I guess it's sort of in the context of our greater global strategy. I mean, one of the unique features of Curtin University is that although our original base was in Australia, we now have campuses in 5 other countries around the Indian Ocean Rim, including our African campus, which is in Mauritius. So we have a very deep interest in African education and in the kinds of research projects that we can do here. I mean, in general, our university is really committed to 3 things. We're committed to the creation of new knowledge through research. We are highly committed to the dissemination of new knowledge through world-class teaching. And we're committed to using the knowledge that we have to solve problems, whether they're local or global. And we've taken this approach and applied it to our work here in Africa. So we are highly committed to working on research projects in collaboration and partnership with our African colleagues.
I want to expand on that because you're not just paying lip service to that. No. There's a way in which Curtin University actually works with what's on the ground, the realities of the environment. And I don't want to speak to it, but maybe Xiaoshen, you could expand on that so that we understand and again, just unravel, what Harlene was speaking to.
Yeah, exactly. And Curtin University always take a holistic approach. That means we engage with different stakeholders. We engage with universities, industries, public sectors. In that case, we are creating or co-creating an ecosystem in terms of cultivating global talents or doing research and advancing industrial engagement. So this holistic approach is the key to our partnership in Africa. And I think this trip is a great example of how we engage with key stakeholders here through that holistic approach to make a difference for people and planet.
And whilst the conversation that comes up often is how institutions are so far removed from what organizations and entities need in a graduate, is your approach helping to solve for that? And we can spend time really looking at how do you solve to close that gap?
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I think one of the things that has attracted the world to Curtin is our unique approach to education. So we trace our history to the Western Australian Institute of Technology. And we were an Institute of Technology before we were a university. But we've taken that history into our university practice. So our students have an education that is heavily embedded in industry. Our research sits not on the doorstep of industry, but actually inside industry in many cases. So right now, many parts of the world, including Africa, are crying out for students who are actually industry ready when they graduate from university. And because Curtin has such an outstanding track record in that particular space, we've had a lot of doors open to us. And people have been very encouraging of the kind of education that we can provide.
And I think there's a model to speak of that other institutions need to do, because there's such a big gap growing in technology, especially when you spoke a lot about AI. There is such a lot of, it's evolving really, really fast. When you've done these travels, David, what are your thoughts on how you've seen as the markers of the need, be it in Kenya, Rwanda, and South Africa, that you are needing to respond to?
Well, I think when we travel to Africa, we learn a lot. We actually learn about the innovations coming from this continent. So we've just had a fantastic discussion about AI, where we've seen, in fact, Africa in many ways more advanced than some of the technologies and discussions that we're having in Australia. But more importantly, where the process of partnership and collaboration helps us to learn from each other, you know. And so our approach, again, is very much one of partnership, where we come as equal partners and we seek to exchange ideas, exchange knowledge, and then design, as my colleague said, co-design programs that not only meet the need in Africa, but also blend expertise and the need from the Australian context.
Trust me, we live here and we're learning a lot every day as well. You know, but I think that again starts to play a difference depending on where you're at. South Africa is very unique. There are lots of really good universities and good institutions, very established as well. What is the appetite, or what is the take-up when you start to speak about Curtin University within the South African context?
Well, we are very fortunate that Curtin University has been a trusted partner for quite many institutions here in the past decades. And it's also Curtin's privilege having a global campus here in Africa, that is Curtin University Mauritius. I think having this kind of strong presence here also help us to enhance the partnership. So through the trip in Rwanda, Kenya, and South Africa and beyond, we felt very welcomed, and we felt also very humbled, because as our colleagues said, we learn a lot from our partner. And this is a great timing for us to put hands together to truly make a difference in this region and beyond.
Thank you, Xiang. Harlene, the demographics. Are you seeing different demographics, therefore creating quite a lot of diversity, and not diversity of minds of people that then come together and register and become part of the Curtin University?
I mean, I think one of the big advantages of being a global university is that you attract students from around the globe. Currently in Australia, we have students from over 130 different countries. So it's quite a United Nations of education. But that same demographic on a smaller side also is characterized in all of our other campuses as well. So our students have the opportunity, no matter where they're studying, to have a real global experience. And we've been trying to sort of build on our global network more recently by providing a Global Scholars Program. So at Curtin, the curriculum for our students is exactly the same, whether they're studying in Mauritius or they're studying in Singapore, whether they're in Bentley in Australia or whether they're in Dubai. And so this gives our students the opportunity to begin their studies in one country, and then they can potentially finish them in another. And so we're working really hard to get a bit of circulation around our Indian Ocean Rim global campuses. So not only do global communities come together on each campus, but students can have different kinds of international experiences while they're studying.
And then how do you push for innovation? Because you've got diversity with such a brilliant formula for creative thinking out of the box, because you're seeing how other people operate. David, do you want to lean into how do you now position and make people thrive and innovate for the future?
Yeah, exactly. I think innovation is one of our hallmarks as Curtin University. As Vice Chancellor said, we come from a technological background, so innovation is embedded in almost all of our courses. And we really promote that in our students. So in addition to their formal learning in the classroom, the ability to have internships with industry partners. In fact, we bring industry into the classroom as well. But we also work closely with a range of other communities in Australia. So we work very closely with the African diaspora. And this promotes a really great sharing of knowledge across different types of institutions that again builds that global citizen that we aim to produce through Curtin University.
Universities have had to evolve I think that's the big thing. We spoke last time about the evolution of the institution, the evolution of lecturers. Xiaoxian, perhaps let's speak to, whilst you're ahead in terms of innovation and your ability to be such an agile institution, are you still challenging yourself for what tomorrow might ask of you?
Yeah, and I think what makes Curtin stand out is really we're taking an entrepreneurship ecosystem approach. And that is how we not only push innovation, but inspire innovations and support innovations. Curtin University is the owner of the West Tech Fest, which is one of the largest entrepreneurship festival and longest running entrepreneurship program in Australia. We support student startups. The startups are the spin-off of our research projects from university. And every year in December, we have hundreds of startups, venture capitalists come to Western Australia to support this ecosystem. So it's not only that we're providing or producing job-ready graduates, we're ready to produce graduates that are ready to create more jobs.
Are you currently feeling confident that we will be able to solve Africa's problems with Africans within your institution? Harleen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would certainly hope that we can. I mean, there's a couple of things I wanted to add on what David and Xiaotian have said. With respect to innovation, roughly 1/4 of our 65,000 students around the Indian Ocean Rim are taking one or more units that involve innovation. So our students are really leaning into the concept of innovation, irrespective of whether they're studying business or health sciences or sciences. They're really thinking about the future, and innovation is part of that future. So they're coming to us with a real hunger for innovation.
And the green piece to that,
Yeah.
Are they linking it together?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've seen, ironically, over the last few years is that the number of students studying mining has literally doubled. And part of the reason for that, I think, is that we've redeveloped our programs around sustainable mining, around green mining, around teaching people that actually, a carbon-free future, ironically, requires more mining, not less. And students are really coming to that. They want to be able to understand downstream processing of critical minerals that is so important to Africa and is important to Australia as well. So I think our university has been, because it's relatively young, it's nimble. We've always been industry engaged and industry embedded. So we've taken our lead from the industries that we serve. And our students are really marching with their feet to say that they want to be part of that future as well.
That's incredible. I can't believe how time has flown. I've run out of time. We'll continue our conversation, but I wanted to thank our guests for joining us today. Thank you for joining Focus On, another educational conversation that shows a shift in the continent's ability to get involved in technology, in innovation, and in green economies. And we had Vice Chancellor Professor Harleen Hayne, Deputy Vice Chancellor for Global, Professor Xiaoxian Zhang, and Associate Professor David Mickler, Dean for Global Africa. Well, that's it from me, Zanele Morrison. We'll catch you on the next episode of Focus On.